ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about self-deletion in the wake of feeling depletion. Yes, today we are going to be talking about what to do when, I guess, you are facing the end in your own mind. It's most of the time like when you feel depressed. Today we're going to be talking about depression, a commonality in this generation or westernized world or just world in general. It's a complete, like, wow, actually I have to point out, like, most people are just depressed all the time. I used to be depressed literally all the time. I remember the first times I was depressed as a child. It was when I was going to be, I think, turning 9. And, like, I had, when I was a kid, I would look forward to my birthday. But I remember, like, dreading this birthday of mine, this 9th birthday. And I remember being so sorrowful, sitting at my desk with my teacher, like, staring at me, asking me why I looked so down. And I was like, I'm about to have my birthday and I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward for another year of life. I'm just not looking forward to any of this. It got progressively worse as I got older, as I became more aware of the world, of my own circumstances, of just life. And, even now at 24, I still get depressed. I'm much less inclined for self-deletion than I used to be. I came pretty close a few times to being able to get on that bandwagon of death and damnation, but at the end of the day, I just never got around to it. I'm not very good. I'm kind of a coward in the wake of death. As much as I'd love to, I don't think I can, and also I don't really want to. It's kind of interesting. There are many instances in my life where I've thought I've definitely wanted to, but these days I'm just kind of like, what's the point? I can just go do something else in the meantime. I'll die eventually. And this is the thing. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like maybe there's a point where you just get fed up with your own, like, negative emotions, so much so that you're just like, you're negative towards the negative. You're like, you know what? I'll think about doing the deed later. I'm just gonna go and watch TV right now. I might be depressed, but there's always something you can do to negate an even worse outcome. And, by the way, like, I don't know why people, like, have this romanticized view of death. Maybe it's because of our writings as individuals, maybe things we've read, maybe things we've watched, listened to. But death is a truly morbid and painful experience. It has, like, the ceasing of all feeling after the fact from what we as individuals assume based on, brain function, nerve function, etc. But you don't actually know what's going to happen to you when you die. You don't actually know how painful death may be. You don't actually know if you want to die, because right now you become delusional with your own emotions. You don't really know anything. And you think you know so much, but at the end of the day, you don't really know anything. And it's not to be negative. I'm a very negative person. I'm a pessimist at heart. But at the end of the day, it's not even to be negative in this, in this means. There's so much opportunity for you as an individual on this planet. And if you're going to operate like, as if you're going to end your life, you may as well just operate as if you're already dead and do whatever you want. Like, and I'm not here to promote, like, doing morbid, horrible things to other people. I don't believe in appealing to anarchy. I think it's bad. I don't believe in appealing to chaos, even though I'm a very chaotic person. Usually, when I get to a point where I'm really sad and I don't know what to do with myself, or if I want to keep doing anything, or if I want to keep going in life, usually I'll do a few things. One, I'll assess the situation, and if I'm too emotionally drained at the moment, I'll do it later. And I tend to do this by just writing on my arm a date for the week later. Like, say it's January 1st, 2024. I'll write January 8th, 2024 on my arm, and I'll be like, all right, well, we got this much time to get over this and figure this out. Otherwise, we can figure out what we're going to do next. And, it always changes, because when you're sad one day, you might not be sad the next day. Maybe you're chronically sad, depressed, upset, and that's not going to work for you. Maybe you should take a more stoic approach. Because in stoicism, and I know I've gone on about stoicism before on this channel, and I'm sorry, I'm very sleepy, zonks. I'm about to go and pick up my car from far out, so I had to get up early today, but whatever. Anyways, you should take maybe a more stoic approach. Maybe, okay, Marcus Aurelius kind of tells you in, here, one sec. Marcus Aurelius tells you in, meditations, which you should definitely read this book. There are a couple of books I'm going to link in the description below. The first one was what got me into reading and got me into Stoicism. And it sucks. It's a terrible book. It's got some interesting points to it, but the typos and the spelling mistakes, God, man, that dude needs a new editor. But this one is Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. It's, I think, 12 books that he writes about a series of things. It's all philosophy. It's very interesting. But at a certain point in this book, he talks about death, and that you should not fear death, you shouldn't crave death, death will come to everyone. So you shouldn't be seeking it out, it's just part of life, really. But at the end of the day, why not just operate as if you're dead? Like, okay, that's kind of what I perceive to be pushed in this book. This is merely my perception of reality. So I have a slightly different, perhaps, interpretation of this book. But it does really tell you, you could die tomorrow. You could not wake up the next morning. You could not go to bed tonight. Anything could happen, you know? And at the end of the day, you're basically operating with a finite amount of time. You don't know what the time is that you're going to have left on this earth. You may as well enjoy it, use it, and create whatever you want from it. The important point is, though, this book does not promote, even though you're a vessel, you're a being, you should be neutral, you should be, you should not let people's words affect you. You should not let death drive you in any direction. You should not let things drive you emotionally. This book also tells you a very important thing, and that is to be good, and to be just, and to be wise, and to study philosophy, and to study, and to learn. And knowledge is power. And all of these important variables. It doesn't promote anarchy. It doesn't promote self-gratification in any means. It promotes that your duty on earth is to just be alive and to exist amongst other beings who are also alive. It's an interesting book, and I would recommend that you read it. And at certain points, I will go into more of this book because I really like it, and I think it's good for the soul. These readings also spark creative activity because that's where this came from. It's my Stoicism board. I just made it because I broke a cutting board in half on accident. Oops. And then I was like, let's just make something nice. So, I put all the quotes on here. And the main components, there are 4 principles to Stoicism. It's so funny that I'm reading this off because I actually forgot many of the principles already. But the point I'm trying to make is, there's justice. So you need to be moral. There's courage. You should not fear death. You should not try to, be driven by death. You shouldn't be driven by emotion, blah, blah, blah. Temperance. Moderate. To be balanced, to not be overindulgent in any capacity, which we as individuals are very bad at. We humans are very bad with temperance. We're very bad with moderation. It's human nature to not be, moderate. We're always seeking more. We always want more. And then there's also wisdom, the practice of virtue is enough to achieve eudaimonia or adaimonia or whatever crap. The path to achieve such is a life spent practicing the 4 virtues. And I also just put this on the back because I thought it was cool. Anyways, what I'm trying to tell you is basically, you could die anytime. You just operate as if you're dead. Just live without consequence. What are the pressures of life right now that are stressing you out? Is it school? Is it work? Is it your home life? Is it everything all coagulated into one demonic being perpetuating your dismay? Is it just the invoked misery of loneliness driving your soul to feel empty and withdrawn from reality? Is it anything? Is it your health? Is it your fitness? Is it your body? Is it your career? Is it your business? What is it? Because at the end of the day, if it's even everything, even if it's everything in the world, and, there's no outlet, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The only thing that really does matter, actually, is your friends, your family, camaraderie, kindness, love, joy, the human experience. But I feel like most of us are depressed because we constantly are craving money, we're constantly craving fame, we're constantly craving some sort of material possession, or we feel like we're in a very bad position with our material possessions. And I can find it justifiable if, hypothetically, you're homeless, or you're in a very bad financial situation, so much so that it's threatening your well-being. But even so, As much as I'm arrogant towards, how some other individuals may be feeling about, self deletion and whatnot, or as ignorant as I am, given that I have a biased perspective, I usually endeavor, if I find that everything else fails for me, to operate as if I have died. And I then look at it and I'm like, I'm just a soul in a body with a brain, and I can do whatever I want. And it tends to make me more productive. It tends to make me less depressed. And although I might still feel sad, I might still feel empty inside, I might still feel like I don't want to continue with my existence for the time being, because everybody feels that way at times. Or most people feel that way at times. Or a lot of people feel that way at times. It's not everybody. I usually will sit down, I'll get up early, I'll read a book, or maybe I'll sleep in. Sleeping in is probably the worst thing you can probably do if you're depressed. So I would recommend trying to get yourself on a decent schedule. If you work late, it's harder, but just try and get up earlier. And try and shave it down until eventually you get up at an early time, like 8 o'clock in the morning or something if you can, or 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Get up early, go outside, sit in the sun, if there's a sun for you. If it's a dark, cruel world, I get it. I'm from Vancouver. But even if there isn't, have a nicely lit room, sit down with a book, your favorite drink, perhaps a coffee. We all love a good coffee. Sit down with a book. I would recommend trying to read some books on Stoicism. They will spark your cognition in some different ways from what I suspect. Create something, build something. If you like woodworking, do that. If you like reading, do more of that. If you like journaling, do that. I would recommend reading and journaling a little bit just in the early day. It does get your brain going, makes you a little more productive, and then you kind of can get the ball rolling in other capacities. If you have to work, go to work. But in the meantime, you've got other hours, probably, that you can get away with sneaking in little magical things. Depending on your profession, I used to work like all day and night. I would do doubles when I first got to America serving. And it was a lot more time than I can spend now. Because now I'm only working half the day. So half of my day can go towards other things. And I make, certain days off for myself so that I can get more done. And I don't have to worry about going to work. But in general, I'm just saying, if you can, get up in the morning. Get up early. Start reading something. Anything you want. It doesn't have to be philosophy. It just has to be something you like. Okay? And then maybe write. Do a little journaling. Write how you feel. Write what you want to do. Write something. Write about your passions. Write about your hobbies. Write about whatever you want. Write about that dumb bitch down the street who just fucking eyeballed you weird. Just write about whatever you feel. And, sometimes it's just good to write things so that you know what you're thinking. Because sometimes, and I feel like this, you have no idea what you're thinking. You're delusional. You're swayed in directions by other people, other things, other circumstances, by money, by fame, by fortune, by all these other variables that cloud your judgment and cloud your perception of reality so much so that it makes you not able to actually look in on yourself and think about what you as an individual really want. And then you just get depressed. And your passions, by the way, can be elaborate on a very cheap scale. Like if you look at things and go like, I can't afford to indulge this passion of mine, unless it's like rocket science or something, you probably can. Drawing, reading, they're more on the minute scale. All you need is paper. Writing, all you need is paper or a laptop or some sort of device or something to write on. If you like, woodwork, do some woodwork. If you like cooking, do some cooking. If you don't have a lot of money for groceries or you don't have a lot of money for equipment, trust me, I can level with you in that one. Try to allocate a little bit more money towards those hobbies if you can. Look at what you spend your money on in a day and say every day you go to Starbucks and you get like an $8 coffee. Don't do that, because over the course of, let's say, 5 work days a week, that's like $160 a month. You can put that $160 towards a baking project, a cooking project, and you don't even have to forego the coffee. Just make it at home, Or maybe you have a little bit more money and you're still depressed. You have to indulge hobbies when you're sad. You have to indulge your passions. It at least sparks you to find that there's an outlet for your stresses. Maybe, I would also recommend working out. You don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to be a CrossFitter. Trust me, it's like barely a workout. So anyways, I'd recommend indulging your hobbies, your passions, and find what drives you in regards to such, because that's what's going to help you the most. And even if you're feeling absolutely miserable, you can still not feel like shit entirely. You know what I mean? You can at least enjoy an outlet of your life and feel like there is something worth going for. And also, I would recommend looking at the end goal. Like, what do you want your future to be in some capacity? Most of us, when we're sad and depressed, don't actually have an end goal. We just wish we were not here. But, you know, at the end of the day, maybe you want to have a family. Maybe you want to be with your own family. Maybe you want to have more friends and party hard and enjoy the night, if one would enjoy the night. Maybe, you know, whatever the case may be. Maybe you want to, you know, be a rich businessman with, like, an evil underground, you know, system of evil. You know, whatever the case may be. I mean, like, you've got goals. I'd recommend making them, like, not evil, but, you know, you still have goals. I would recommend the number one important thing is getting up early, reading, doing some writing, some journaling or something like that, and then, you know, indulging your habits, your passions, your hobbies. Eating good food also is important. Eat healthily. You know, fruits and vegetables and all that good shit. You know, we can go into nutrition if you ever want to, but honestly, everybody online argues about nutrition, and I'm not really a fan of that. Ironically, I did start studying for dietetics in high school, but then I was like, this system's kind of corrupt. I guess I'll not get into this. And then after I graduated, I was like, nah. But it was funny, you know. But yeah, also working out. I'd say those are the main variables that kind of help humanize you a bit. It's basically every driving force. And try not to think about money too much in the wake of this. Like, obviously, the expense that comes into a project will be costly in some regard. But either way, like, try not to let what is causing you, and a lot of people, it's work, causing you the dismay to permeate every aspect of your existence. Even if you feel like that now, it will eventually kind of, like, subside. But yeah, I would recommend definitely reading this book on, you know, Stoicism. It's a very good book. I would actually recommend, even though the first book I read was bad, it helps you gain perspective before you start reading Marcus Aurelius' teachings, which gets more complex and confusing in some regards because it's philosophical much more than an explanation. There's no explanation. He just starts, like, writing all these things. And the interesting thing about Marcus Aurelius' book is you're not supposed to actually be able to read this. This was his, like, personal journal collection, and for some reason we have it now. So that's cool. Apparently. That's what I've heard, at least. Anyways, whatever. Just do your thing, man. Like, keep going. It gets better. And, like, even if it doesn't get better, it's just life. It'll eventually still get better, though. I'm not trying to be negative. The point I'm trying to make to you is there are so many things you can do, even if you feel like you are truly damned, in order to perpetuate your well-being, or just a state of humanity. Like, you might not feel very human right now. Perhaps, maybe you'll feel, like, heavy, crippled in a sense, withdrawn from reality. Everything's moving slowly for you. Or maybe you're anxious, riddled with fear at the future, the prospects of the future that aren't prospects, but more like penalizations. But, like, in general, like, it does get better. So, like, try to just chill out, which is why usually when I'm really sad, I'll just write, like, a date on my arm, and I'll worry about it then. I'll be like, all right, well, if I'm still depressed then, I think it's time to go to therapy. Like, I'll just tell myself anything. I'll be like, I'll end my life tomorrow, because today I'm here. And I could die tomorrow anyways, and then I'll get my wish. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be that complex. We overcomplicate things as humans and try to give ourselves the power of being a god to, like, and I'm not trying to be, like, religious in any sense. I'm just saying we always try to play God. We always try to play doctor. We always try to manipulate each other, manipulate ourselves into thinking that we have the right to do everything we want, you know? We always go on about this stuff, and this is a very self-indulgent scheme of thought, I guess, because, you know, you should also reflect on, like, okay, is there really nobody on the planet right now that, like, wouldn't want you here? That kind of thing. Like, there's probably at least one person you interact with on at least a small basis, you know, where it's going to be that they're not going to be particularly happy if you're not here. Or they'll be disappointed if you're not here. I don't like living through other people, but just, one, live for yourself. But two, live for other people as well. Like, live for the people you care about, not for everybody. Screw most people. But, like, you know what I mean. Anyways, that's the video. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point. I'm gonna drink my coffee, get my stuff done today, and get to work today, because I got a lot to do. But yeah, that's the video. So, it has been lovely, my people. I will see you when I see you. Slater.